Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening. Welcome to our Careers Day, the Biochemistry Society's Careers Day. As you can see on the screen, my name is Christian Lewis, and I am your president. Before we begin anything, let us start off with a word of prayer. And to do that, I will now call on my secretary, Mitili Millington. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Tracy said, my name is Vitaly Millington, and I am the I am the secretary of the Biochemistry Society. I'll now lead us in prayer. Most heavenly and righteous Father, as I come to you once more, I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to see yet another day. I want to thank you for your continuous guidance and protection over our lives, dear Lord. As we'll be having our session today, I just ask of you to bless us and provide us with clarity so that we can take something away from this session, dear Lord. As for our presenters, dear Lord, we thank you for giving them the opportunity to be here with us. And I just ask of you to give them the knowledge needed to present to us. I put all these things before you. In your son's precious name, amen.
Okay. Mitty, please can you mute? All right. Thank you so very much. Alrighty. Second, we'll have our announcement by my Vice President, Georgine.
Hi everyone, hope you guys are doing well. So the announcements for today, basically we are thanking two of our members, Zoe Garwood and Sashana Staple, for their submission and participation in our society's first ever photo competition. So basically their work or their photos have been posted on our Instagram page, so go and check that out. Also, these two participants will be receiving small gift prizes for their continued support and work in the competition. Also, we have a charity club event, and basically it's called the SOS Children's Home Charity. And the items that are needed are gently used clothing for both male and females, non perishable food items, toiletries, monetary donations, sanitary items, as well as hygiene items. And the collection period will be between March 8th to March 19, and the cutoff date will be March 20. So the location for drop off is Crossroads inside the LIQUI Gas Limited area, and it's at 99 Consumer Plaza, shop number 7. For more information, you can contact this email address kuwayneCamo@gmail.com, or you can call the telephone number 876-855-5623. So that's the SOS Children's Home Charity between March 8th to 19th. That's the collection period. Thanks for listening, everyone. Enjoy the ceremony.
Hello, hello, hello again. I am super, super, super excited for today. We are initiating our first ever Careers Day, and I hope that the persons who come after me will continue this tradition. Why we are doing this, why we're here, why we've invited such a wide range of guests to join us today. I know a lot of you, our members and student body at large, are considering where can my degree take me? What can I truly do? We are from the microbiology, we're from the biochemistry section, which includes microbiology, biotechnology, molecular biology, biochemistry. I've invited chemistry, biology, and we do not know where we can go. And because of that, I've brought the corporate world to you. So you know some faces, you know some names, you know some companies. And nothing beats a good research. So I hope that as the guests come on, they will they will be of encouragement to you. I'm a third year, and I'm sure there'll be some encouragement to me. So without no further ado, I'd like to bring on our first guest, and I would like to say he is the operation. He operates. Okay, he is from Campari, and he's the distillery's quality manager. He has a degree in biotechnology, and his name is Mr. Marland Davis. So, Mr. Marland?
Hello, everybody. First, are you hearing me?
Right here.
You're hearing me clearly. All right. So my name is Marland Davis. I am a trained biochemist. I have been doing this for the last 18 years. I'm in my 19th year now. Ironically, I got this job straight out of a course that I did at UWI. And how I actually got the job is that everywhere that I went, we used to have field trips. I went to Red Stripe, I went to Rare Neville, both the production plant and one of the distilleries. And everywhere I went, I left a resume. In the week that I did my final exam for my degree, I got a call that I was shortlisted for an interview. So after finishing, I did my final exam the Tuesday, and I did the interview the Friday, and that was it. Now, ironically, in all of that, I applied for a master's program in biotechnology overseas, and I also got through. So it came to a point where I had to make a decision if I should continue working or I go away and do the master's. I chose the decision to stay home and work. And for me, I am quite comfortable with my progress, and I think it was the best decision for me. I am a pass-through student of St. Mary High School and also Titchfield High School. So I am a country boy. And what my job entails, what do I do on a daily basis? So if you know anything about Rare Neville has a suite of production facilities. We have a massive production plant on 234 Spanish Town Road. And we have two distilleries. So in essence, the distilleries actually produce the raw materials that are fed to the main plant on Spanish Town Road to make the products. I started out as an analyst in the main lab at 234 Spanish Town Road, and over years of working and being promoted, I eventually was sent to Appleton Distillery. That is a site where we have the Appleton Estate Rum Tour. And I have been there. I left Kingston in 2007. That is approximately 14 to 15 years ago. And I've been working on this site. Now my job has evolved evolved over the years where I was only focused on one side. Now, being a distillery's quality manager, I have total responsibility for quality at the two Rare Neville distilleries. And when I say total responsibility for quality, that entails raw materials coming in and also the final product leaving the distilleries. That entails a lot of stuff. We have to monitor, track all raw materials coming in, ensure that they are at the required specification. Also finalize liquid that would be delivered to our customer, that is Rare Neville Limited. And also we have a suite of quality management. How would I put it? We have a suite of quality management tools. What I'm talking about, ISO, food safety, HACCP. As the quality manager, I have direct responsibility to manage those programs. And also, I am a trained auditor. So I am called on to audit these processes, audit the quality management systems. They are part of audits that are organized by the company and also to represent the company in certain technical aspects. So that means if we need to make communications like other external bodies, for example, Bureau of Standards, Scientific Research Council, I at some point will have input in those activities. What is my philosophy? As I have evolved, I've seen that the most important thing that you can have as a young person going into your career is a good mindset. Just be positive. Just be positive. Acquire the proper disciplines. And I always tell people this: if you want extraordinary pay, you have to do extraordinary work. How do you do extraordinary work? It's simple. You do what everybody else is doing, but you do it better than them. So if you are not willing to put in the work, you will not get the pay. And I am a middle-aged person, and at times I still get impatient, but patience is very critical in your development. It will not happen overnight. Success that happens overnight generally does not stay with you. Once you take the time to build yourself, build your repertoire, make a name for yourself, there will come a time when people come asking for you. You will not have to seek anything. So, as I said, very important, have a good mindset, have a good philosophy. And as I told some of my students, which I do some lecturing at the UAE, it's simple. What is discipline? Discipline is just a few set of activities that you would do repeatedly every day. That's discipline. And what is failure? Failure is simply this: you do several errors, a small amount of things that you do every day, as I would call it, judgment in errors, small judgment in errors repeated every day. A simple thing: you keep putting off stuff, you keep procrastinating, you don't do what you're just supposed to do, and then all of a sudden, day become the day, a day become weeks, weeks become years, and you are nowhere. So simple. If you are conscious and you manage your life on a day-to-day basis, yes, a day-to-day basis, set your goals. So you might have yearly goals, you might have goals for 10 years, 5 years, 3 months, 1 month, whatever. How do you manage that goal? You have to do it daily. So you don't put off the goal, you manage the goal daily. And when your mind is concentrated and you are active, you notice that time moves very quickly. So that 5 years will slip by in no time. And guess what? If you had made the right decisions at day one of that 5 years, at the end of the 5 years, you will be in a good place or you will be in a bad place, depending on the decisions that you make day to day over that 5 years. So it's a simple philosophy. You do the work, you will get the reward. Those are my few words. I think I might have exhausted my time, so that's it in a nutshell from me.
Thank you for that. Before you go, Mr. Davis, we have a question for you from the comment section, and as you can see right there.
Quality control can never be filled or saturated, as most of us might think, because in any field that you go in, it could be banking, you need some form of quality management. But the problem at times is that Jamaica does not have a very large market. So some of the times you might have to look outside of Jamaica. I am one of the lucky persons who got the chance to build my life in Jamaica. But um, I believe, and this might sound weird to you, I believe that if you have the right philosophy, you will get something. You will get a job. And some of the time it takes a little patience. So just do the work, send the resumes, stay focused, stay focused. If you see an opportunity that is outside of Jamaica, take it. Because if you look at the percentage of science people currently in the marketplace, I think it's less than 1%. A lot of people shy away from the sciences, but everybody is seeking jobs in the same areas. So that might be a critical problem too.
Okay.
So there might be jobs, but the marketplace is saturated.
Understood. Sir, a personal question before you tackle the one on the screen. You said that you did a course, or you did some courses to help you to be in the position that you are. What are some courses, and what are some courses that would complement our degrees for quality assurance, and where are they offered?
All right. So, for instance, once you leave university, one of the things that I learned that me as a science person who did all the sciences, when you're going to work, if you want to go to the high level, you need to learn how to supervise. You need to learn how to manage.
Okay.
So I learned that it would have been a better mix after I left university to do like chemistry and management or something like that. We generally don't see it like that.
Wow, a little too late, sir. I'm in my third year.
Yes,
Wow.
the only time a full science degree really helps you is if you go back into research. Because when you go out in the real world, apart from doing science and stuff, you have to manage money and you have to manage people. You have to manage budgets. So anything that can help you in that side, and also very importantly, learn how to manage your money, your personal money, because we are taught everything at school and in the universities, but nobody teaches us how to manage money. And if you can manage other people's money, you should be able to manage your money. And that is when you will see if you are worth anything, because you're going to make the money, but in the same rate, you're going to waste it.
Okay, sir.
Mhm.
Final question before you depart from us. On the screen.
What career options are in Jamaica for biotechnology? Well, if you look, Jamaica is growing rapidly in terms of industry, and most industries will require biotechnology. Um, to give you an insight, when I did my degree, I have a biotechnology degree, but 40% of my degree is straight chemistry. The reason why I didn't end up with a double major in chemistry and biotechnology is because I purposefully chose chemistry courses that would aid me in analysis. So in doing that, I did not get all the prerequisite courses that would give me the double major because I skewed it. So I did everything in biotech and everything that I can find in chemical analysis. So any industry will accept biotechnology once it is any form of the science-based industries, because it is the principle that they require now. And this is what a lot of us fail to understand. If you have a good technical base, whether it be chemistry, biotechnology, biology, microbiology, you can work in most of the fields, because a lot of the industries that you go into, their systems are set up and structured already. So what you are coming in to do is just to complement it and help to build it. So once you are able to learn, and if it is a good company, they will teach you what you don't know, or teach you what you need to do. So you will get that.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for your time and your expertise. I'm sure that someone is encouraged by you. Um, Thank you. You can join us on YouTube now, sir.
Yeah,
Um,
no problem.
Alrighty.
I would love to see some of the other presenters.
Okay.
Okay? All right, thank you.
Alrighty. All right. So that was our first presenter, Mr. Marlon Davis. And we have a lot more in store, a lot more in store. I have called this lady up and she was gracious and kind to listen to me and to not only invite one, not only invite two, but she invited three persons, including herself, to come and share with us today. She is the laboratory manager at Associate Manufacturers Limited, and you must be wondering, what is that? Who is that? So that's Walker's Wood. She manages the lab at Walker's Wood, and her name is Miss Stacian Thompson. So she's our second presenter, and I will bring her on our stream right now.
Hi, good
Hello.
afternoon. You're hearing me well?
Good afternoon. I'm hearing you very well.
Okay, great. All right, so as I was introduced, and you see on the screen, my name is Stacey Ann Thompson. I'm the laboratory manager at AML. You can see behind me here, that's Walker's Wood. So you might know us primarily for jerk seasonings, jerk sauces. We also do condiments, we do curry paste, we do pickled fish, we do quite a bit of things, but we're geared in the jerk seasoning area. So I have a BSc in medical technology. For those of you who might not be familiar with that, it's what they also call clinical laboratory science. So my degree is based in the clinical laboratory setting, but we do a fair amount of food testing, food microbiology, food quality, food safety in our degree. I did my degree at University of Technology, Jamaica. My graduating year was 2005. So I've been out of school for quite some time. Um, so that's a little bit about me and my background. Being at UTech, how I ended up there, it was sort of a twist of fate. Coming out of high school, I went to St. Jago High in St. Catherine. Coming out of high school, my initial career path was to be a marine biologist. I had gotten through to the UE to do the program, but there was a bump in the road, and so I ended up going into my second choice, which was medtech at UTech. Choosing that degree, honestly, it was just, I saw it on the paper, didn't really know what it was about, but I chose it because it was the best option for me at the time. I didn't want to do any other programs that they had in the sciences. So I said, let me give it a try. It is in the medical field, but it keeps me in the lab. I'm not very good with handling people. So I wanted to have a career that I could do the science work, I could do the lab work, I could keep my head down, keep focused. So that's how I ended up in medtech, quite by accident. Or maybe I should say it was God's favor, because having done that program, I realized that it was a really good fit for me. MedTech is, I would say that it's an all round degree program because we touch on all the areas of the sciences, the life sciences. So we do biology, we do chemistry, we do microbiology. So all of that is rolled into one. In addition to that, MedTech is a quality-based program. So it requires you to be meticulous. It requires you to be able to problem solve. It requires you to be able to link data and put things together in order to get a final result. So it worked for me in terms of my personality and what I like to do, in addition to the fact that it kept me in the lab and out of the limelight, out of the hustle and bustle. So it was really, I would say, divine intervention that I sort of ended up there. Being at UTech, I think most university students would probably have the same thing to say. It's different from high school in the sense that it is less structured. You have a wider array of people that you're interacting with. So there was some good, there was some bad. Well, bad relatively. But overall, it was a good experience being at university. I started university pretty young. I started at 17. So it was a learning curve for me. I grew up pretty quickly, to say the least. Immediately after getting my degree, honestly, it wasn't difficult for me to get a job because while we're in our program, we do internships with the main hospitals that have labs in Jamaica. I ended up doing my internship with KPH, working at the National Blood Transfusion Service, that's the blood bank downtown. So after my internship, I was invited to stay on, was there for about a year, and then I decided I wanted to move on. Now, as I mentioned earlier, in our degree program, we do touch on a bit of food testing. Food analysis is done in microbiology, so we do a bit of it. Leaving the blood bank, I actually ended up working in the microbiology lab at EUA, which is clinical, just the same, but they do some food testing in terms of if there are any types of foodborne illnesses, outbreaks, anything like that, then they'll test samples to see what's happening. Left from there and actually went to the Ministry of Agriculture. And that's where my foray into food testing, food safety, food quality analysis really started. So at the Ministry of Agriculture, I worked at what is called the Veterinary Services Division. That is the department of the Ministry of Agriculture that is responsible for testing all animal-based products that are going to be either imported into the country or exported. So we test them for different parameters to determine if the microbial level is okay, any sort of chemical contamination, that sort of thing. Being there I was there for 5.5 years, and being there was a very good learning experience for me because it was I would say it was my first deep dive into being in a corporate environment and having to be able to interact not just with lab staff and who I'm working with immediately, but persons outside of the environment, administrators, accounting, that sort of thing. So it was a good experience. It taught me a lot. You'll have to. There's rain in the background. I'm in St. Anne. It rains often. So yeah, that was my coming up in the corporate world. I took away quite a bit of knowledge there. Fortunately for me, my immediate supervisor at the time, she's a brilliant mind. I learned a lot from her. Left from there, I did stints at some other private food testing facilities. So honestly, job hunting for me was just spotting an opportunity, sending out an application, and in some cases I was lucky or fortunate, in some cases not so much. But what I must say is that each each job that I moved to was actually a step above the one I had before. So each time I was building on my knowledge, building on my different skills, being able to not just focus so much on the testing anymore, but start moving somewhat into administration. So that was where I was until I got here, currently at AML Walkerswood. I got this job because I applied for a job advertisement. I was called in, I was offered the job, and then I started. Um, that was in 2020, actually, in in what would have been Jamaica's first wave of the COVID pandemic. So again, good fortune favored me. I got a job when many persons were losing theirs. So I've been here a year and a half. July this year will be 2 years that I've been here. Came into the position having to take the laboratory through ISO certification and accreditation process. My job here as a lab manager is primarily administrative. So I am responsible, similar to Mr. Marlon Davis, I am primarily responsible for the quality management of the laboratory. We're an internal lab, so we test all of Walker's Wood products for export and the local market. We are not commercial. We are hoping to, maybe we'll go commercial, but we're not there yet. But one of the highlights of my career here is actually that we are the first, and I think only, internal laboratory, food testing laboratory in Jamaica that is accredited by ISO. So we're very proud of that. In terms of tips that I think would be useful for anyone who is, gonna be seeking employment soon or focusing on their career path, try to be certain as much as you can be of where you see yourself going. It's useful to not just do something because it's the status quo or because it looks cool or it looks nice and interesting. It might be daunting because I think for us in Jamaica, the job market does seem sort of stifling. But if you're focused on what you want to do, I believe there's opportunities that you will find. So I think it's really important to just know what you want to do, know what your focus is, and go towards that, because it's easy to get sidetracked. It's easy to get disheartened. You might be hunting for a job, you're not getting anything, nothing seems to be working out. What you can do is volunteer, offer your services with a company that might be in the area that you're interested in. Form linkages, liaise with people, talk to people, ask questions. Don't be unwilling to do something just to learn, because knowledge gained can never be lost. So at all times, you'll be able to use it and apply it in some way, shape, or form. So I think that would be the most practical tip, the most practical idea I would suggest. Another thing is being in the sciences is, we might watch on TV and we might see all these fancy, glamorous things about what it is like maybe working in CSI or stuff like that. Yes, you can have that in the back of your mind, but don't glamorize it, because when you're in the working world, particularly in Jamaica, we turn behind make fashion a lot. Even in the corporate world, we don't always have the tools that we need. So take everything that you learn in your degree program, everything. Some things might seem unnecessary. Some things might seem, like, how does this fit into what I'm going to be doing at the end of this? But take everything, take every experience, including your social interactions, how you interact with your lecturers. All of that is all part of the learning, and it will help you when you get into the work world. Typically at my job, as I said, it's primarily administrative. I'm not on the bench anymore, which is my first love, my main love. So I basically do a lot of documentation, a lot of paperwork, putting stuff together, creating procedures, manuals, that sort of thing. That's mostly what I do most of the times. So it's not where I initially set out to be, but as I said, you have to learn as you go along, and it has actually helped me to develop a part of myself that I didn't even realize that I had, which is being a leader and an administrator. I've always shied away from the limelight, but now I'm in it. I have to be in it. So it's bringing out that side of me and allowing me to see that, yeah, I could have done it, and it's not that impossible. That's basically it. I will see if I can go through some of your questions.
Hello. First thing I would like to say, it's probably out of pocket, but I have one thing I would like to compliment Walkers Wood for is their allowing access to their laboratory, to their manufacturing plant. I was fortunate to not only visit once but twice, once as a student of Montego Bay High School for girls and the other as a lab technician at said school. And you opened your doors and I got to ask questions by the window. So I saw it very impertinent to ask you to come on and share your wisdom with us. We have several questions. Let me bring them up on the screen.
Sure. Do we have internships for students? Okay, from the laboratory perspective, we don't at this time. The reason being because we are ISO accredited, there are certain restrictions as to how we allow persons to handle the samples that we test. So if the person is not trained and certified as part of the accreditation team, then they would not be allowed to do testing. In addition to which, our physical capacity in the lab really would not allow us to have someone there who is just primarily an observer. What does ISO stand for? ISO is a Swedish term. It is the international, translated to English, it is the International Standard Organization for Management Systems. I'm trying to remember the exact terminology. It is an international standard that assesses management systems and quality systems. But it's a Swedish term that I'm not going to try to pronounce right now. Where is it located in Sweden?
Okay. How do we go about getting this accreditation? Because it seems like we need that right after a degree if you're planning on joining your team.
Okay, so no, accreditation, ISO accreditation is not for an individual. So they accredit systems and they accredit facilities. In terms of locally, we have a body called the Jamaica National Association for Accreditation, JANAC. They are the local body responsible for carrying out the accreditation activities on behalf of ISO. So what they do is they go in, they verify an organization wishing to be ISO accredited. They look at how their system operates, how they manage it, how their documentation is, and then they'll recommend for them to be certified or what they need to fix in order to get certified.
Okay. All right. Final questions to you, Miss.
Did I take courses? I did not do formal courses in management. No, I did not. Which when Mr. Davis was speaking, I was nodding in agreement because he is so right. It would have helped if I had, because I am basically learning on the fly. In my degree program, we do introductory management courses, but they are not completely detailed as a structured management course would be. So for the most part, it was just introductory management and then me learning on the job.
Okay. Thank you so much, Miss Thompson, for your time. You can join us on the flip side and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Okay, so that was our second guest. I am encouraged already. I hope you are too. Our third speaker, and I know a lot of you are keen on this. You know why? Forensics. Yes, our third speaker is from I want to get it right, the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine. She holds a master's in forensics, and her name is Miss Sarah Loy Spencer. Please listen, have your questions ready, and she's definitely ready to interact with you all.
Hello, good afternoon. Today I will be sharing a little with you about forensic science. I have created a PowerPoint, so please bear with me while I share it. Okay. Okay. So are you able to see the screen? Okay. Can you see it?
Yes, we are.
So you're seeing the screen?
Yes, we're seeing the screen clearly.
Okay. So today I will be sharing with you about forensic science. So introduction. So my name is Sarah Lois Spencer. I have a BSc in terrestrial and freshwater biology, MSc in forensics, molecular biology, and serology, and I am an intern at the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine. So my route to forensic science. So I did my undergraduate degree in terrestrial and freshwater biology, and I did my master's in forensic science. So for the University of West Indies, you're required to have a first degree in biological science, biochemical, or life sciences. So why did I choose forensic science? One, the CSI effect. I'm sure that we all have seen CSI, and we get catch by the fancy forensic equipment and all of that. And also, I am a lover of genetics. I am interested in what small genetic variation that makes me different from you. So forensic science is a good avenue to explore all that, because we use those small differences to determine who was the source of a particular DNA profile. So what is forensics? So it comes from a Latin word, forensicis, which means forum, a place for debate or trials, and science in this case is used for the purpose of law. So any branch of science that is used in the resolution of a legal dispute is considered forensic science. So the first use of forensic science was used in the case of the assassination of Julius Caesar in 44 BC, and a doctor who may have been Julius Caesar's personal physician was summoned to do a post-mortem examination or autopsy. So from this autopsy report, it was determined that only one of the 23 stab wounds had proved to be fatal. So who is a forensic scientist? A forensic scientist is a specialist in a field of science who uses their knowledge for the purpose of legal dispute. So why do we need forensic science? So they are the persons that perform the scientific analysis on the evidence that are collected by the police, and they also give expert testimonies in civil and criminal matters for the courts. So you have some of the branches of forensic science that are currently practiced in Jamaica. You have forensic serology, forensics molecular biology, forensics pathology, forensics chemistry, forensics toxicology, tool mark analysis, scene of crime, forensics entomology. So what is forensics? Operate on the basis of Lockhart's principle, where every contact leaves a trace. So everything that you come in contact with, you will leave some amount of DNA present. So this uses science to associate people, place, undertaking detailed investigations or past events. So a lot of us might know scene of crime because we say JCF scene of crime vehicles. We might see it while we're in traffic or we're just standing on the road. So they are the person that will go to the scene and examine the scene and determine if there's anything there that is of forensic significance, and they will then collect those evidence for future analysis. So what we do, forensics molecular biology, this is the use of molecular biology techniques to analyze DNA evidence to generate a DNA profile for comparison purposes. So before you can generate your profile, you will need to determine the type of sample, whether it may be blood, semen, saliva, urine, and determining if it's human or non-human. So that is where forensic serology comes in. It is the branch of forensic science that deal with the identification and characterization of biological evidentiary samples. So forensics evidence is evidence obtained by scientific methods such as DNA analysis in this case that is used in the court, and it also helps the court to decide if a suspect is guilty or innocent. And it can also be used to link crimes that may previously thought of as not being related. So forensics evidence can link something that happens in St. Anne versus with something that might have happened in Kingston. So some of the sources of forensic evidence can be weapons, fingerprints, footprints, fibers, plant material, etc. So what is DNA? Oh. So what is DNA? DNA or deoxyribonucleic acid is hereditary material in humans and almost all other animals. So DNA evidence is any forensic evidence that is obtained from which DNA can be obtained, such as blood, hair, skin cells, other body substances. And this was first used by Alex Jeffries in the solving of a double homicide in England, which linked the suspect to other previously unsolved murders in that area. So these are some examples of DNA evidence that we analyze in Jamaica. So on a daily basis, so the evidence collection part will be conducted by the Jamaica Constabulary for Scene of Crime Unit. The evidence screening will be conducted by the serology unit, and the DNA unit will then do the extraction of the sample, which is to remove the DNA from the substrate which it is on, bring it into a usable form for further analysis. Then after that, we'll then decide how much DNA is present, and following that process, you will then amplify specific portions of the DNA that is used in identification. And the capillary electrophoresis process will then be used to visualize the DNA that have been amplified or multiplied. After that, you'll then analyze the report to compare to other profiles that may have been generated for the particular case that you're working on, and then you'll end up type a report with your conclusion. So these are some of the equipment that we use on a daily basis. We have the PrepFiler BTA. This is this one here. We use that for bones, mostly bones. Sorry, this is the Automate Express, which we use mostly for bones. This is the Maxwell 48, which we use it for references and casework along with the Maxwell 16. So the 48 analyzes 48 samples, whereas the 16 analyzes only 16 samples. So this is a ProFlex here. This is what we use for amplification. The Rotogene Q, which we use for quantification, and the 3500 genetic analyzer, which we use to visualize all the previously amplified DNA. So a lot of persons may wonder what are the base requirements to be a forensic science officer in Jamaica. So you'll need a BSc in molecular biology, biochemistry, chemistry, or forensic science. Some persons have a master's degree, and that's the salary range. So my university experience was a bit rocky because I had to travel home on a daily basis. So I spent most of my time in traffic, 4 hours of each day. And I had classes from 8:30 to 5 o'clock. So I had a pretty rough schedule. And we had difficult courses like quality, which is a lot of information, not necessarily hard, but it's a lot of information to know. Life after pandemic. So life after university, when I finished my project in March of 2020, we're in the first wave of the COVID-19 virus. So a lot of places were shut down and you couldn't do anything. We're on the lockdown. So job hunting. So I sent out a lot of resumes with no response. So I kind of gave up on searching until I started to search for internship and the volunteerism programs. That's how I ended up at the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine. So tips for employment. I suggest that you start searching for employment before you have completed your degree. Look if you see any possible internship that will help you to gain experience. So you could do that in the summers when you're off from school, since most universities get like 2 or 3 months at home you can do some internship during that period so you could gain some experience. LinkedIn is very good. That's how I found out about the internship at Institute of Forensic Science. So it is best you could type in the company that you wish to work for on LinkedIn and you could see person's resume from that company.
Excuse me, miss.
Yes.
One momento. After slide 16, we're unable to see what comes next.
Really?
Well, no, we are moving it. Oh, so you didn't move it at all, right?
I did.
You did? We didn't see it
You're
at all.
seeing it now?
Okay.
Do you
Tips for
want,
employment. Yes,
so do you want me to go back to slide 16?
You know what, miss? I think it's best that you forward us that slideshow. A lot of people are asking for it.
Okay,
So,
all right. So I'll just re- go through it quickly. I won't say anything because it's something you can read
yeah.
and you can just look at it.
Okay. Thank you so very much, ma'am.
So this is what I was saying before. So this is the daily workflow. These are the instruments that we use on a daily basis. And this is the standard requirements for an entry-level forensic science officer. Okay, so we'll continue from here. Are you seeing it now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So tips for employment. So I would recommend that you start searching for internship before completion of your bachelor's program. And I would also I would say you can do internship programs during the summer breaks to gain experience. And you can also search on LinkedIn for the company that you wish to work for. You might see persons employed to that company. They might come up in your search, and from them you can know what you need to do in order to get where they're at. Secondly, have a good resume. So forensic science advice. So ensure that you have mastered pipetting because that is really important as you work with small volumes of sample. For example, 10 microliter, which is a lot here. Sometimes it's 1 microliter. So it's good that you are accurate and detail oriented because forensic science is what determines if somebody helps the court to determine if somebody is guilty or innocent, and one small error can affect the judgment. So it's good to be accurate and detail oriented, flexible and adaptable
Switch
because
slide,
forensic
please.
science is not what. Repeat that,
Switch
please.
slide, please. We're still seeing tips for employment.
All right.
Thank you.
Did you hear do I need to repeat what I just said?
No. You
Okay.
can.
Okay. So it's good to be flexible and adaptable because in forensic science, you are not working with just one type of sample. You are working with different type of sample. Every case might be different. So not all samples are going to be the same, and it is not like CSI where every sample in CSI is almost the same. Sometimes you'll have problematic samples. So from the classroom to the working world. So in the forensics molecular biology master's degree at UA, they focus mostly on PCR. And DNA analysis is a PCR. So what we learn in the class can be applied to the working world. It's not far different. It's one in the same. It's just that the kits and the equipments used in the working world might be different from what you use in the class, and it's more automated and modern. So my general advice is networking because you might know persons that might be better able to guide you along the path that you wish to go. So it's best to meet other persons so they can provide some level of guidance on how you can be successful within forensic science field. For persons in first and second and third year, learn your learning style. That will be better. That will enable you to better understand what your lecturer is saying. Time management. A lot of us struggle with time management. We procrastinate a lot. we put off things for last minute or we have enough time. But it is good to manage your time wisely because it is something that you will need when you're in the working world, because you will have deadline that you can't procrastinate with. For example, in forensic science, somebody might call for a case that the court date is tomorrow. You can't procrastinate while doing that, but you need to do other things while completing that case for tomorrow. So examination prep. So start preparing. Can't wait until the last minute to start preparing for your exam. Sometimes it can be a lot, and the earlier you prepare, the better for you. Don't try to stick to one and assignment in entirety. If you have writer's block, just move on and start something new. You might find out that you remember what you were not able to remember while doing that assignment, and it works out better and you manage your time wisely so you don't waste unnecessary time wandering. Make use of our resources, YouTube, Google. Google has almost anything. Trust me, anything is on Google. Make use of it to help you with your studies. So the tutorials, I suggest that you attend tutorials because that is where you learn to answer your exam questions. You might learn more in the tutorial than you did in the lectures. So opportunities in forensic science. There's not a lot of opportunities, but there are some opportunities. You can work at the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine. You have INDECOM, the Independent Commission of Investigations. You have the Jamaica Constabulary Force, where you can do scene of crimes. And you have the Jamaica Fire Brigade, where you can do fire scene investigation. So we're almost at the end of my presentation. However, I have a small case study I would like us to go through. So this is the murder of Lisa Miller. So the exhibits that were collected was a knife from the car of the accused, which had blood, human blood, sample of blood from the deceased Lisa Miller, buccal swab taken from the accused Andre Simpson. So this is how the results will look. I wish I could get it bigger. You can't get it any bigger. So this is how the results would look this is how the STR results will look at the end of the analysis process. And I would like anyone in the comment section to form a conclusion based on the information that I shared. Anyone here?
We're hearing, but I don't see any responses in the chat. What is the answer, Miss?
Oh, you like the answer?
Yes.
Okay.
Here's a response.
Okay. Oh. Andres is innocent.
Oh boy.
How did that person arrive? How did you arrive at the conclusion that Andre is innocent?
There's another answer. Exhibit B and A matched.
A? Or is A?
Yeah. All right. Oh, exhibit and okay. All right. I'm just showing up all
Okay,
those.
the knife has the blood of the deceased. That is true. So Andre isn't innocent, which I would agree with, but we wouldn't say isn't innocent because it is not our job to prove that he's innocent or guilty. It is our job to analyze the information. So the conclusion will be the DNA profile obtained from the blood present on the knife, allegedly taken from the motor car of the accused, Andre, match that of the sample of blood allegedly taken from the deceased, and the deceased Lisa Miller cannot be excluded as being the source of the blood present on the knife. So from that conclusion, it places Lisa Miller in the car of the accused. So we have come to the end of my presentation, and I would like to know if you have any questions.
Any questions for Miss Spencer? I think somebody had asked previously about salary. What is the gap? Highest we should expect,
Let
lowest we
me
should
go back
expect.
to the slide. Are you able to see it now?
Yes, yes, I am seeing it right now. Okay, thank you so much for that, Miss. Wow, thank you so much for that. Here's another question. It's on the screen. How long does an internship usually last at the Institute of Forensics?
From 3 to 6 months. However, after you have completed the allotted time, your supervisor can request that your internship is extended for like 6 more months. I have been an intern at the Institute of Forensic Science for almost 1 year.
Okay, understood. There's another question. Ooh, there's a lot of questions. Does a forensic degree have any path other than forensics?
So for forensics molecular biology, you have persons that work for other labs, for example, labs that test paternity. It's because they're all PCR based. So with forensics molecular bio, it is PCR based, so you can work with other labs that do PCR testing.
Okay. Ooh. Do you utilize DNA fingerprinting technique a lot when identifying suspects?
Yes, so DNA fingerprinting is what we know as PCR. So that was a name when it was just discovered, pioneered by Alex Jeffrey, but now we currently use the word PCR.
Do you have any internships beside this one?
The Jamaica Fire Brigade, they offer internship for fire scene investigation.
Okay, last one, Miss. So, is a bachelor in technology sufficient enough for this career, or is it masters and upwards?
BSc in biological science with laboratory experience you would read the minimum requirements for.
Okay, alrighty. Thank you so very much, Miss Spencer. Your knowledge, wisdom, and your presentation has been truly lovely. Thank you for your time and thank you for your patience. Um, and we'll see you on the other side. Join us via YouTube. And thank you.
Thank you for having me as well.
Okay, no problem. Wow, guys, that's a lot. I knew a lot of things I didn't know before. I'm not sure about you, but I certainly do. Okay, alrighty. Our fourth presenter was supposed to be Mrs. Frederica Combs, and she sent a video, but due to time and everything, I think I'm going to let Miss Cavell Hilton proceed and then I'll show the video. Okay? So, Miss Cavell, are you ready? I think your device is not connected. Okay. Okay. Alrighty. Is that okay? Would you like to go now?
Sure.
Alrighty. I realize the time is coming up on the side.
Yes.
Alrighty.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, it's still afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. Just move this a little bit. Right. So it's a pleasure to be here with you, and definitely the conversation so far is really informative. So a lot of things have been said already, and hopefully I can add a little more to that. Right. My name is Kavel Hilton, as mentioned before. I actually graduated from University of the West Indies in 2010, so that's quite a while. Maybe you're still in primary school at that time. My degree would be biology with education, so it really was a double major in biology and education. And I kind of gotten into that by accident as well. So I actually wanted to major in biotechnology or biochemistry, and I think it was first year the calculus that didn't work out so well. So I decided to do some education courses, and to be honest, I do not regret it at all, because a lot of times when students actually complete the degree in biology or any of the life sciences, they may end up actually in teaching, and then they now have to go to teachers' colleges, thereby to get a teaching diploma. So, so having done that double major, I was a trained teacher when I finished university, and so I would get a trained teacher's pay and not a pre-trained teacher, and that was significant at the time, the difference. So yeah, so I graduated with that degree, and I actually started working immediately. Reason being, I worked before, so my entry into university may not have been the same for for many other persons. I actually worked about 2 years before actually entering university. So when I finished sixth form, I hadn't applied to UWI or any university at the time. So I was like, what am I going to do? And so I started working as a lab tech at the Convent of Mercy Academy Alpha. And I worked for about 2 years as a lab tech, and then I went on to university. So when I completed my university degree, I went back to to Alpha, considering that they always said to me, when you're ready for a job, you can always come back. So it's always good to leave a good reputation wherever you go. And so I dropped off my resume there among other places, and they called me for an interview. And yeah, that was it. The rest is history. I actually spent 7 years there, and then moved on to the Scientific Research Council, where I currently work. All right, so it's a little information as it relates to getting prepared, because a lot have been said to you so far about getting ready and things like that. So I'm not going to go over those, but one of the things that I did when I was trying to get a job was I utilized the services provided by the university. They actually had a career center. I think they probably still have it now. And they were able to look over your resume, to just check your resume. And that's very important, because sometimes, having that second eye to just review your resume. And, I really spent that time going through that and actually completing the resume, submitting it to them, following up to make sure they review it and give me their feedback so that I could make improvements. And in addition to that, I believe that you should always be, reinventing yourself and just reimagining your resume and making it better as the times change, so that you can always be cutting edge, right, and employable. All right, so I utilized those services. They also had a interview session in the hall, and I also went to that, got prepared with the questions, and dressed appropriately, everything, made sure to take the feedback, they asked me questions, and that really helped me to prepare for the interview to get a job, right? So it wasn't difficult. I got a job immediately. I was working by August, and I completed my degree by around May, June, final exam, and graduated in the November of 2010. So my university experience was actually very good, doing the labs and all of those things. I actually worked part-time the entire time while I was at university. So I didn't get to partake in any of the fun, the parties and everything. So I worked in the library, I worked in admissions. So I worked most of the time. So when I'm not at school or studying, I would be working. And when I'm not working, I'm in the library putting in those hours. So yeah, how did you? Okay, I think I covered most of that. You see. Okay, so how did I land my current job? So as mentioned before, I worked for 7 years teaching biology, and it was an amazing experience. And I will say, some of you may actually end up in teaching, just because there may not be that many jobs in Jamaica as it relates to science and technology employment. So it's good, you will get employment. And I think the first speaker also mentioned that you can go overseas if there's an opportunity there. But some of us will actually end up in teaching, and there's no shame in that. The experience that you get from it is incredible. The impact that you're able to make also on the students is really good. And as I mentioned to you before, the experience is something that you can use and apply elsewhere, not just in teaching. So I taught at the Convent of Mercy for 7 years. After leaving leaving Alpha, I saw a job in the newspaper for a technical information officer at the Scientific Research Council. I wasn't sure what that meant, but the qualifications, I was qualified at a Bachelor's of Science degree, and I had actually just completed my master's.
Good afternoon.
Sure it's happening. Video coming on. All right, so yeah, I had actually just finished my master's at the time when the job was advertised, and I'd done a lot of work completing my master's and working with the school and doing projects and things like that, and I was able to showcase that on my resume. And so I got a foot in the door, and of course I prepared, really well for the interview, and I was successful. So I started working at the Scientific Research Council as a technical information officer. At that point, we did mostly events, working with schools. So we were in charge of this National Science Fair, doing essay debate competitions, etc. And couple years into that, in 2020, I was promoted to the coordinator for the units, for the Science and Technology Education unit. We are doing more of that in terms of events, science fair, conversations in science series. And the fun part about this is that I get an opportunity to actually create new programs for the Scientific Research Council and for the unit. I also get to plan and execute events. And that is something, something you never think about it. You may have planned birthday parties in the past, not realizing that you're actually developing these skills in terms of event planning and management and these kind of things. And so you're able to apply it in your job, or in your everyday life. So yeah, that's how so on a day-to-day basis, I'm actually planning events. I actually have an event tomorrow called the Next Gen Girls Science Program. That's where we invite students 11 to 14 years old to come to the council and actually meet the different scientists and go in their department and get that hands-on exposure, so that they will be able to choose a career like you in the sciences. So that's what I do on a daily basis. I'm helping to create more of you, create more persons interested in the science. All right. Some principles that I've learned from my study: hard work, determination. Yeah, I remember telling my son this morning, studying calculus for weeks and not getting the grade that you want. And, he's saying that he would just give up. But so determination, you learn a lot of that from being in the sciences and from studying the sciences or math, whatever it is. You have to be determined. You can't give up. There will be obstacles, but you still have to just think about your goal. What is your end goal? What is it that you want to accomplish? I would also want to say to you that at this time, whether you're in third year, first year, start writing down your goals. And beyond university, start thinking about what it is that you want to do, so that you can be intentional, so that you're going to utilize the next 2 years or next year that you have at the university, and you're going to use it to make sure that you're able to achieve your dreams. I think one of the speakers also mentioned that you can go on LinkedIn and look at what another person have. That's something that I've always done. If I see a position or a person in a particular area that I feel that, wow, this is something that I would want to do. So say, for example, they are the executive director of an organization, and I'm going to look and see what their qualifications are. I'm going to look and see what training and what skills they have. And then I'm going to make sure that I start to align myself. So I'm going to be intentional. I'm going to put that in my plan, my goals, my personal goals, and my personal development, to make sure that, maybe one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day I'll be able to to have those qualifications and be able to apply for something similar. And that is not bad mind. That just means, you're planning, you're intentional, and you know what you want and you go for it. All right. So that's one of the advice I would give you. Go out, look to see what is happening, look at persons that you admire, see what it is that they have been able to accomplish, see how you can also, do it for yourself and, increase whatever. Write down what it is that you want to do. I was actually reviewing one of my diaries that I made when I probably was in my final year at UA. And I wrote down I want to teach for 3 years, and then I want to work at a scientific organization, then I want to be this and that. And I was actually able to accomplish it. I taught for more than the 3 years or 7 years. And then I actually worked, and still working at a scientific organization. And in addition to that, I've been able to actually start my own business. So I've ventured into entrepreneurship. I think the first speaker also mentioned that some of the skills that you will need, not just science, and you really have to, think outside of the box where that is concerned, because there are just so many areas that you can look at and not just pure science. And even if you go into pure science, you may still be called upon to have these skills like communication. Science communication is so important. Management, planning, project management, proposal writing, public speaking. All of these things are skills that you can do even at university while doing a degree. You can pretty much try to sign up for different training, graphic design, all of these things. So we're living in a society now where you have to be multidimensional, multi-talented, and multifaceted. You can't just think unidirectional and just think one way. You really have to be able to think outside the box and broaden your horizon. So that's one of the tips that I would give students getting ready out there. I think those are my general advice. A lot have been said already, so I won't continue to say more about that. Any questions?
Hello, Miss.
Hi.
Hi. No questions. Your presentation was lovely. No questions from the chat I am seeing, but I would like to comment before you go that I love what the SRC is doing as a young lab technician. I was with a team of students who went to prison. We had problem solving, and we had to fix some. Well, they had to. I think we won or something like that, and it was a tremendous feeling for them to see that they fix a real world problem. I think we offered that castor oil be used as a fuel. It was crazy. It was crazy, but it was fun, and I love and please continue what you're doing in the education unit at SRC. A lot of us shy away from education, but it's quite rewarding, and thank you for all that you do.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that, because that's what, really fuel the interest of students and to actually continue. So you really can't, they will always say, whatever it is that you do, thank a teacher. Because really and truly, teachers are the backbone, educators are the backbone of our society. And so there's no shame in that. It's actually a very noble profession and one that I continue to admire. Maybe not pay all the bills, but yeah, definitely it's something very rewarding. Right. So you mentioned, just the problem solving aspect. Those are definitely programs that we want to continue and that we really rely on other persons to also support. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. No
Alrighty.
questions.
Thank you. Here's the comment. Every time I have a question, she answers it a couple seconds later. So I'll very well present. Your presentation was absolutely wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for
You're
it.
most welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Alrighty, guys. I'm here loving it. I hope that you all are too. We have a lot more in store for you. And somebody asked about microbiologies. We got them. We got them. We got the biochem. We have the chemists coming in. We have the microbiologists, the biochemists. They're coming, guys. Just give us a few. Alrighty. I had delayed a video, and I'm going to show it right now. And this is from Mrs. Federica Cobbs. She is the laboratory manager of Andrews Memorial Hospital. Um, Give a listening here. She cannot be with us and she won't be with us in the comments, but her presentation, I think, will be insightful.
I'm happy for the opportunity that has been afforded me to take part in your Career Day program this afternoon. My name is Frederica Coombs, and I am a registered and licensed medical laboratory technologist. I have been in this profession for many years, probably before most of you were even born. I am presently the manager of the Andrews Memorial Hospital Laboratory, overseeing a staff comprising of 9 medical technologists and 5 phlebotomists. Our medical technologists hold a 4-year Bachelor of Science degree in medical technology, and our phlebotomists are trained and certified by the Ministry of Health or other private institutions that offer the course. Like most of you, maybe, I was drawn to science from an early age. That was my love during high school, and I continued that right into the college years. I wish I could remember exactly why I chose the profession of medical technology, but it just slips me. I just can't remember. I remember researching the other professions supplementary to medicine. I looked at radiology, pharmacy, physiotherapy, but medical technology was the profession I chose. Now, who are medical technologists? Medical technologists, or clinical laboratory scientists, as they are sometimes called, are behind-the-scenes detectives in the healthcare industry. They are skilled scientists performing various tests to aid in the diagnosis and treatment of disease. 70% of all diagnoses depend on the laboratory result. Can you imagine that? 70%, yes. Medical technologists make valuable contributions to patient care by performing various clinical laboratory procedures. They collect and analyze samples of blood, tissue, and body fluids using the latest technology and analytical techniques. Medical technologists perform a wide range of tests, such as monitoring antibiotic drug therapy, identifying bacteria in urine, blood, or wound infection, and advising the doctors which antibiotic can be used to treat these infections. They carry out complex testing that uncovers or identifies diseases like diabetes, liver and kidney diseases, AIDS and cancer, etc. Many different diseases. They do all this testing in a combination of ways, manually or by operating their microscopes, complex electronic equipment, computers, and precision instruments costing millions of dollars. So every day, the medtech has to ensure that their instruments are working properly. They will do daily maintenance at the beginning of the day, as well as run quality controls to ensure that not only the equipment is working, but the reagents are working properly as well. Throughout the day, they would carry out the various tests that have been requested, verify the results, and report to the doctor. As our motto says, by our skills, we save lives. Your profession of choice might be different. Some of you will be teachers of your specialty. Some of you might use your degree as a stepping stone to other goals. Some of you with your degrees will go into research. Some of you will use your scientific background to become successful med reps. Whatever it is, look forward to exciting times ahead. Now, I had an advantage in my early days of study, which unfortunately you do not have today. You see, there were lots of positions available in the medical labs in those days, but very few medical technologists to fill them. This meant that there was literally a job for the choosing for all the medtech graduates. The only technologists who didn't get jobs in the labs were the ones who decided to go into different fields. Some went directly into medicine or dentistry. Some, after working a few years in the profession, became engineers, and some even became politicians. So you see, you're not always bound by your first choice. You can always move on. Unfortunately, as I said, you do not have the same advantages. Jobs are much harder to get these days. So what can you do? For some people, all they can think of is how quickly they can start working their own money. But sometimes life moves a little slower than you would like, and you have to try different strategies before you can realize that goal. Now, if you can't get a job quickly, don't stay home and twiddle your thumbs. Find a company you might be interested in and ask if you can volunteer. If you are allowed to volunteer, go in and showcase your best work and your best self. The company might be so impressed with you, they might create a position just to have you work for them. Or the first opening they have, they will remember you and your good work and give you a call. Next, send out job applications to your choice company. And this is important now. Make sure your application is well written. Some potential jobs are lost at that stage because the application letter is so unimpressive and not well written that the hirer just puts it aside and moves on to the next applicant. If you get called to an interview, make sure to do a little research on the company because the interviewer will be impressed if you have knowledge of their company. At the completion of your first degree, you might be tempted to say, "That's it, I'm done with school." Mind you, getting your first degree is a great accomplishment, and for some persons that is enough to carry them through life. But keep an open mind and look at other areas as well where you can go with your degree. For example, if you're studying microbiology, you can go and do further graduate and postgraduate studies in microbiology, and then I might need to hire you as a consultant in my microbiology department. I close by saying congratulations on making the choice to be a professional in your field of study. I encourage you to give it your best, and you will reap the rewards of your hard work. Thank you so much for listening. Blessings to you all, and enjoy the rest of your career day.
Hello. Alrighty. So I hope that Mrs. Combs' knowledge has helped you to navigate the way. A lot of you guys would like to go into the laboratory side, the medical laboratory side, and she's there. So I hope that her knowledge and wisdom have helped, have encouraged, and have mobilized you to, go out there and reach. So according to our timetable, we were supposed to have an icebreaker, but due to two of our guests' time constraints, they have asked to be put in the icebreaker time, and this will be this is Sonia and Justin. They'll be Justin, Miss Just okay. So just Miss Justin Claire and Miss Sonia Stewart, right? They're both microbiologists at Walkerswood. That's Associated Manufacturers Limited. Um, I'm so sorry for all of this, but the show must proceed. All right, so I'm going to bring to the stage Miss Jasan Claire and Miss Sonia Stewart, after which we'll be having Miss Tamika Grant.
Hello.
Good afternoon. We are members of the AML team. You met our laboratory manager earlier. This is Miss Josanne Claire and I'm Miss Sunny Stewart. So we're going to start off with Josanne.
Yes, hi. So, first of all, I want to start off by commending the Biochemistry Society for doing something like this. Um, I was a student at UWI not too long ago. I graduated about 5 years ago. And I really would have loved to have a forum like this where you're able to kind of see what the prospect is, in the field or for people who do similar degrees. So this is good. And I just wanted to start off by commending you. So like I said, I went to UWI. I graduated in 2017. I studied microbiology. So microb was my major. I did a minor in uh, human resource development, but I have not been using that minor as yet. So I've just been focusing on microb. Why I chose microb, I just literally saw the word microbiology on a piece of paper. When I was in high school, I went to Glenmuir High School. Shout out to all my Glenmuir High School peeps. But yes, so I chose microb because I saw the word microbiology on a piece of paper in the guidance counselor's office, and I knew I wanted to do something in bio. So I researched, I just went to Google and asked Google what microb was all about. And from the search, it did seem like quite an interesting science. So I applied for it at UWI, and I got through. And once you start to study microb, you're gonna fall in love. Like microb it's a very lovable science. So yeah, I fell in love with microb, and here I am. My UWI experience was a mix of high and low. My first 2 years could have been better. And I'm just gonna be like real honest with you guys because I was in your shoes like not too long ago. So in first and second year, I really did not focus on my academics as much as I should have. And my grades weren't terrible. I'll just say that they weren't terrible, but they could have and should have been better. So it wasn't until final year when I really realized, like it just kind of dawned on me that I'm going out into the working world and I need to know stuff. So so I mean, first and second year you study, you SWAT for exams. And literally, if you would have asked me some things like hours after the exam, like that fly out of my brain already, because I just studied to pass the exams. But in final year now, I really focused more on learning. So even in going to your lectures, you do try to learn stuff. So it's not just about like studying or swatting, right? So you're actually trying to learn. And I would really encourage you guys to do that sooner rather than later. Because when you go out there into the working world, it's not a classroom, it's real life, and you're going to need to know stuff. So I would recommend that you learn, not SWAT to pass exams.
Here, here.
Here. Okay. What was life like immediately after completing my degree? So I got my degree. Well, I finished in May. I think it's like July before you actually get the physical copy of the degree. I wasn't here because I went on the work and travel program. So I came back in October. But even while I was away, I would have been like searching jobs and applying for jobs. I got called for an interview. Well, I got emailed for an interview, but I wasn't able to make the interview because it was in August and I wasn't returning well, I came back in October. So I didn't make that interview. When I came back, I did some demonstrating work at UWI. Where I think you still have demonstrators at UWI, so you know what demonstrators do. You facilitate in the labs. So I did that for 2 months until I got the job here at Walkerswood in December 2017. So that was what what my experience was like immediately after UWI. A day in my life as a microbiology. So I'm the microbiology analyst here. So primarily, I analyze samples, but there are other things that come with that. So there is sample collection, there is media prep, there is the actual setting up of the samples, the counting of the samples, and the reporting of the results. That is more or less what my job looks like for the most part. I use most of what I learned at UE. Like I can't pick and choose and say, well, I use this and I didn't use that. Like everything that you learn is important. And even if you don't use it in one job setting, it doesn't mean that you're not going to end up using it or having to pull on it in another job setting. So everything I'd say is important for you to pay attention to and try to retain. Um, Techniques and skills, aseptic techniques, there's no escaping that. Once you work in any kind of microbe lab and you're setting up samples, there's no escaping aseptic techniques. And the same basic safety protocols, those apply too. So you can see us in our lab coats. Well, we are wearing hairnets because we work in a food manufacturing plant, so we wear hairnets, but that's not critical for microbe. um, Closed toe shoes, yeah, you know that part too, and all the works that comes with microbe setting. In terms of like plating techniques, there's pouring, there's streaking of plates, there is spread plate, it's everything. There's counting, it's everything. I mean, everything is important, like I said. Um, Skills used. Okay, practical skills or practical advice, right? So, well, from the presentations earlier, I think that you guys have gotten a whole lot of practical advice. Um, so I know someone mentioned LinkedIn, and networking is important. I would say networking is very important. Um, search for jobs. I would say don't be afraid to even reach out to companies. Like once you know that they have a lab, even if you don't see a current job opening, you can take the initiative. You can call them even if they don't have an opening, or you may never know, they probably do have a position, but you are not seeing it advertised. You can reach out to companies, send them your resume, and whenever an opening comes up, they'll actually consider you for the job. And it would reflect positively on you that you took the initiative. So even like being final year students, that's something that you can start to do from now. For the degree section, you would put pending so that they know that you have not yet completed the studies, but you're expecting to get it, say 2022, if you're in final year. Um, I'll give Sanya a chance to butt in, and then I may check back in after as the need arises.
Okay, so I have a microbiology degree. When I was at UWE, I did the microbiology option. So I left right as the major came in. I didn't get an opportunity to do the major, but I did the option. For the option, it's basically similar to the major, but I had to do a lot more life sciences course in my option. I left UWE in 2014. In the year that I left, I ended up doing an internship at St. Anne's Hospital in the microbiology department, where I basically learned the medical part of microbiology, which was very, very good. You got to do your plating, you dealt with samples such as urine, feces, sputum, etc., all of those things. Sounds gross, but the practical part of it is very good when it comes on to microbe. Like Josan said, if you're a person who loves microbe, once you get into the field, there is nothing more to you than microbiology. When I went to UE, I was one of those persons that decided that I wanted to go into medicine. So I got into pure and applied, not straight med. So I said I would do a year in pure and applied before they changed into science and technology, of course. And then I would move on to medicine because that was what I wanted to do. I signed up for microbiology went to the class, and when the teacher came in, she basically said to us that, okay, I know I have a lot of persons in here that wants to do medicine, but here what? Let me tell you about microbiology. And she started to talk and give us all the possibilities of what microbiology would be like, etc. And I started to think and consider that, hey, microbiology could be something that I want to do. I went home, I researched it, and I decided that, okay, I'm going to go into microbiology. After my internship and my graduation in November, I got a job at a private lab in microbiology. So I was a microbiology analyst at that job. I basically was dealing with medical samples as well, analyzing them, checking to see what type of bacteria is there, how sensitive they are to certain bacteria, sorry, to certain antibiotics, etc. Then that information will be passed on to the doctor. So at that time, the doctor is relying on you. You felt, well, I felt very important to know that doctors would be calling me to say that, hey, ex-patient, what antibiotic can I give to them? So their work is relying on me, etc. The downside, of course, was some of the samples that you had to deal with. Not a lot of people want to deal with feces, when you have to sift through feces to search for parasites, etc. So as fun as medical microbiology is, there is a downside to that part. I left that job in 2017. I was out of microbiology for a while. I went into teaching. As you heard Miss Hilton say that a lot of us, we end up in teaching. So I ended up going and teaching at a private high school where I taught biology, integrated science, and human and social biology. So having a science background, it can be versatile. You have to make do with some of the situations that you are placed in at times, because honestly speaking, not a lot of science jobs are out there. So when you get out of school and you get into one, right away you are very lucky. So like Josan had mentioned before, you kind of have to be on the ball. You have to network. So this society that you guys have there is a very, very, very good society. Make sure you make use of the persons that went to you before, are in a position currently. Talk to them, network with them, ask them if your company is having any positions where you can fit in, other things that you can do. After teaching, of course, I came to AML. I'm currently in the position of laboratory assistant. I work both in microbiology and in the chemistry department. So I work with both the microbiology analyst and the chemistry analyst. This now is a food environment. We test food samples. You are familiar with our workers with jerk season and sauces, etc. So we test them to ensure that they are up to standard, they're safe for eating, there's no bacteria, there's no anything that is not supposed to be there. So that's basically what we do. As it relates to your job hunting, you have heard the person say time and time again what you need to do. Send out your resumes, don't be afraid to volunteer, network, build your LinkedIn account. That can be very important because companies do look at those things when you send in your resumes to them. Make sure it's up to date, make sure everything is there. Also, like the first presenter had said to you, you can look outside of Jamaica if you are not seeing anything here in Jamaica. So make sure you have an open mind, make sure you have patience. That is very important. Don't be disheartened when you send your resumes and you don't get calls. When you finally do get that job, you will see that everything is worth it.
Definitely, most certainly. I just wanted to, as Tanya was talking, I know that like you may be hearing us say these things and you're not even sure if they do work. I just wanted to say that I have actually had persons reach out to me on LinkedIn with job opportunities. I mean, they're probably not going to give you an offer because they don't know you, they don't know, you know, so they'll want to probably meet with you first. But I've had people reach out to me on LinkedIn with job opportunities. I have had people call me like months after I submitted my resume to companies who weren't hiring. I've had people call me months after and ask me if I would have been interested in a job that they now have. So yeah, these things do work. If I had to leave you with something, I would say based on the fact that you're just leaving school and chances are you don't have any experience. So, you know, I know that it has been fed to us that, you know, you go to school and you do well and you get your degree and then life is going to be so sweet and nice and dandy. And that, I mean, that may be the case, but it may not happen straight away. So right now you want to focus on gaining valuable experience, not just any experience, valuable experience. So you want to, yes, money is important, and I'm not actually, I would tell you point blank, know your worth and don't settle for less than, you know,
You think you're
what you think you're worth. So you're not just gonna, you know, $50,000 job, you know, you don't have to, but experience is more critical at this stage. So you may not get the $500,000 job straight away. You may not get it straight away, you know, but focus on the experience and the money will follow. Like the big money job will follow. Focus on the experience, you know, position yourself to or pursue jobs that you know, especially jobs that have opportunity for growth. Those jobs are golden because if you end up in a company where there isn't a lot of opportunity for growth, chances are after maybe 5 years you're going to be re-entering the job market, you know, maybe not even 5 years, maybe sooner than that, because maybe you outgrow the job or you outgrow the company itself and there's nowhere else for you to go. So you have to now be re-entering the job market, and that may be not ideal for some persons who probably value stability. So, you know, you want to pursue jobs that are aligned with your long-term goals, not just your short-term goals. And I'll end right there.
Thank you so much, Miss Claire and Miss Stewart. I
You're
truly
welcome.
appreciate your words of wisdom. It was so relatable, very relatable. And with that, you're off. You can join us on YouTube when you get the chance. The video will be here. Thank you so much for your time, for both of your time and your expertise.
You're
You're
welcome.
welcome.
Alrighty. Okay. Well, guys, we had planned an icebreaker, but that has gone to the side. We are off to our next presenter. Her name is Miss Tamika Grant. She is the Bureau Process Manager at Heineken. She works for Heineken. And without further ado, the Miss Patient, the ever patient, ever kind, ever lovely, Miss Tamika Grant.
Alrighty. Hi, guys. So, as stated, I'm the brewing process manager here at Red Stripe, Heineken Company. And the sciences, perennial question for every undergraduate student completing their degree in any of the sciences is, okay, so where is my next step? Where do I go from here? Where does this degree take me? So first off, I'll start by giving my background, pure and applied science. Back then I don't know what the faculty is called now. So that's to give you an idea of how old I am. But I have been working in the fast moving consumer goods industry for the last 15 years. I would have graduated from the applied chemistry degree program, and I would have also gone next door to UTech as part of my continuous commitment to education and learning, and done their process engineering chemical and process engineering program as well. So my start pretty much in Red Stripe would have begun with an internship. The summer internship program was one where, as part of my applied chemistry degree, we had to go out and do internship in industry. So myself, a friend of mine who is now still at Petrojam, and another friend of mine who is also now at Carib Cement to this day, we were placed to work just for the summer on a project. Of course, that would contribute to the final grade for coursework. And after successfully completing that project and that internship, I was asked to stay on by the then lab manager for a month or two, just to give them some assistance with some of the projects that they were working on, as more or less a lab assistant, research assistant, etc. Nothing high-end or fancy, just something basic. Which brings me to the point, because I know that all the speakers here would have spoken a lot about networking and LinkedIn and the credentials. A very important point, guys, is that what is important is networking, but not just networking. You have to deliver once you get the opportunity. The quality of your work in terms of your output, the attitude is very important in securing that that long-term placement or opportunity that you're seeking. So for me, as I said before, I started at Red Stripe as an intern, a summer intern from the applied chemistry program, just doing that one course. I've never left. And I would have had a series of progressions through the system. So just touching on in industry, what we have, and I started at the very bottom of the ladder, so to speak. You have the raw materials analyst, and my job at the time as a raw materials analyst was to count 500 grains of malt individually, pour that into a beaker and place it on a on a scale, get the weight and multiply that by 2, and that is the 500 grain weight of the malt because it tells the plumpness of the grain to the brewer. So just use another analogy, it's like sitting there and counting 500 grains of rice, 500 rice grain, 1 rice grain, 2 rice grain, 3 rice grain, all the way to 500. I can tell you that there were days when I sat at the bench and I was counting those grains and I was reevaluating the decision that I made in my life to do the sciences. But the work ethic, discipline, and humility, right, is something that your potential employer really looks at. So grades are important, don't get me wrong, because at the end of the day, it was the grades in my applied chemistry program that I was getting that allowed me to score the internship at Red Stripe for the summer job. But I can tell you that we've had over the course of the many years many interns who, of course, were at the top of their class, but didn't really quite make the cut because of the attitude, and not necessarily attitude in a very bad way, but it can be but attitude in that it can be a very demanding job, because it's a 24-hour operation, and you can be called upon at any time to provide support. And so that flexibility is something that is valued. So it's a bit of the attitude, of course, having the knowledge, the requisite knowledge, and also being of value, right? Bringing value, so one of the things too that I would ask for feedback from the manager of the lab at the time about what it is about me that they appreciate, and what can I work on. So actively looking for that feedback as well. And one of the feedback which I personally try to keep up with is around always trying to improve what is there. So weighing 500 grains of malt, and then taking a razor blade and cutting them open to see if they're wholly unmodified or partially unmodified wasn't fun. But what I was willing to do was to research other methods. What are the more up-to-date scientific methods to reliably give this information and get this information out there so that the brewers can use it and that sort of a thing. So the and not doing it in a, hey, I'm coming and I'm bringing light to the country. No, it's like, hey, what are the very small improvements that I can make, so that the process or what I am doing is actually adding value, and that too will make people look at you, your potential employers, look at you and say, hey, this is someone who I'd want to keep on board. So grades are important, guys, because it opens the door. But how far you get into the room is going to be dependent on your skills that you learned both inside of the classroom and outside of the classroom. So things like, believe it or not, group assignments. I never really liked group assignments, right? I am somebody who likes to go off on a frolic of my own, do everything on my own, and then say, all right, you just present on this, you present on that, and you present on that. The reality is, when you get into the work environment, that group assignment thing, the other aspects of of working with people and trusting people and that sort of a thing becomes very, very important in the work environment. So one of the main things I want us to take away is that what you're learning in your courses, right, from a technical perspective, is just as important as what you're learning outside. So networking, the attitude, the aptitude, right? Very important. All right, so here at Red Stripe, what are the opportunities that exist for someone with a chemistry degree, biochemistry degree, physical chemistry degree? All right, the opportunities are in the quality assurance lab, for example, we have the raw materials analyst. We have, and the raw materials analyst examines everything that is coming in for use in the brewing operations. So you're talking about water quality, malt quality, syrup, sugar, cassava, all of that. Yeah. You have the finished product analysis. analyst, sorry. The finished product analyst is the person who basically ensures, does the checks, ensures that whatever is leaving our packaging hall, whatever is going to go on the consumer or the customer's shelf, matches the final specification designed for the product. So we have the alcohol at 4.7 for Red Stripe beer and not at 5.7. So that is their job. We also have a microbiologist, and the microbiologist plays a very critical role in ensuring that there is not only, because for breweries, sanitation is a huge thing. So of course, the microbiologist plays a critical role in ensuring that the quality of the CIPs or cleaning is done, accordingly, and also the most critical role of the microbiologist for us is in yeast propagation, yeast culture starting. So of course we can't do any fermentation unless we have viable yeast. And the microbiologist is responsible for ensuring that or yeast cultures, yeast colonies, etc., that we use throughout the process are in a good state. We also have the special checks analyst. Special checks analyst is the equivalent of a forensic scientist, if you will, which basically means that if we are experiencing an issue in process and we want to do a more detailed research on what is happening, it is a special checks analyst who will do that sort of deep dive for us. So let us say the raw materials analyst does their test on water and the alkalinity is very high, or in the finished product of the beer we're tasting something metallic, just to say. It is now the special checks analyst who will step in and say, okay, this raw material we're going to send to be analyzed for heavy metals. Water we're going to send to this lab to get it tested for heavy metals, and will also review those procedures and the results that come in from the third-party lab and report it in the process. Then we have a sensory officer, and all of these are tied to your basic sciences, guys. And the sensory officer, actually, every step along the process, from brew house right straight through to packaging, we have to taste the samples in process. Some people think it's wonderful that you go to work every morning at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and you're quote unquote drinking, but we don't drink, we taste. And it's not so wonderful as you may think looking from the outside in, because it's a lot of samples sometimes. And yeah, when you're tasting for a specific reason and not just for shooting the breeze and enjoying a good time with your friends, yeah, when drinking is work or tasting is work, trust me, it's it's not as fun as you may think it is. But so the sensory analyst or panel lead is responsible for ensuring that we have the product at the right sensory specification for each process step and prior to release to trade. We also have, of course, a quality systems coordinator. Quality systems coordinator is responsible for ensuring that we are compliant to both local, international, company, and also Heineken general guidelines as it pertains to food integrity, and also quality management. So you have the quality systems management. So we're FSSC 22000 certified, which is a food safety management system certification. There's a ISO 9001 certification for quality management systems. And we are also accredited to something that is akin to the ISO 17025 lab standard, which is the LabStar management standard. So, and then of course, all of that is underpinned by a quality assurance manager who has to keep all of those functions running together, and a laboratory supervisor who also is responsible for quite a number of those functions. Additionally, there is also the role for quality control monitors. Quality control monitors are required during the actual operations of the plant to ensure that we are meeting the standard specification for finished product while we are packaging. All right, and also delivering the beer to the packaging line. As for me, I would have done all of those roles, yeah, at some point in time in my past life, and then I would have moved on to being the new product and innovations manager, new product innovations and compliance manager here at Red Stripe. So I would have done quite a bit of innovation work and consumer value engineering work as it relates to the formulation of engine. You probably wouldn't know that one. It was a competitor to Campari. I would have done work in terms of the package design for a number of our Dragon Stout items. I would have also done CVE work, or consumer value engineering work, as it relates to some reformulations for the Red Stripe Sorrel, Lemon Paradise. I would have also been involved in quite a few packaging material optimization activities. Continuous learning, very important, because for all of these roles, one of the things that as I would have said before, I went back to school, because a lot of what I was doing, I was growing beyond just application of the applied chemistry principles, and was now moving more and more into hardcore engineering type of work. So I now had to really know how valves work. I had to know how to spec a pipe and to spec a pump. So if someone comes and they say they're putting a pump in line, I have to at least have an idea about whether or not this pump that they're trying to install will be able to do the job that I want it to do. So the next step, guys, is around continuous improvement. Yes, once you get in, it doesn't stop there. After doing innovations, they had asked me to manage the spirits plant. So we have a high proof bottling spirits plant bottling line, which does Smirnoff vodka, the 21 vodka, and the green apple vodka, Smirnoff green apple vodka, etc., etc. So manage that. Then got the plant up to snuff. That is when I really had to learn a lot about engineering and process, because the plant wasn't doing so well, and we had to renovate the plant, improve the processes, etc. that was happening on that side, and the procedures and that sort of a thing. So successfully managed that project, and now I'm brewing process manager. Always have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. I had a plan A, plan B, and plan C. If I did not score, if Red Stripe didn't ask me to stay on as an intern after my degree program, my plan was to actually volunteer my services free of cost to Red Stripe or Grace or Seprod. That was my plan A. Fortunately, I didn't have to execute plan A, but that was my plan A. My plan B was, if I didn't get the internship right away, would have been to, of course, network. But while I was networking, my plan B was to actually go right back to school to do a master's. So I even had applied for a master's program before, because the truth is, even though Red Stripe had asked me to stay on to as part of the internship when the internship program ended, it wasn't a full-time job. It was just a contract, and a contract can come to an end and it's not renewed. So my plan B was, just in case I don't get a full-time offer, at least in my back pocket, I will have the master's program that I can jump into. And of course, that master's program doesn't have to just be here in Jamaica. It can also be overseas. Apply widely. Okay, guys? Don't limit yourself in terms of saying, boy, I don't have the money, I don't know where it's going to come from, yada, yada, yada. Just do it, because you never know where the road may take you. All right? And I also had a plan C. So if the school thing didn't work out, if the internship thing didn't work out where I'd get a full-time job, my plan C was to actually go into teaching. It's not and not because I look down my nose at teaching. My mother is a former high school principal, so I have nothing against teaching. But I didn't see myself in the classroom at that time imparting knowledge. No, I don't have a problem with going into teaching full time. Yeah, but back then I didn't think that it suited me and my personality to go into teaching. But if I had to do it because plan A, plan B didn't work out, then that is where I would I would end up going. But the job prospects for SANS, guys, it is huge. It is huge. And you will always think the pool is small if you're just looking in Jamaica alone. The reality is there is a lot world over, but to get the start, I know it's going to be a challenge for you. But understand that to get, sometimes you have to give. And it means you're going to have to give more than you're initially going to get. Trust me. Because even with the start of my internship program, I was making what at that time I think it was $20,000 a month, $30,000 a month, yeah, max. And there was, of course, the time between 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. was your contracted time. But there were many times that I arrived at work for 6:30 and I would not leave work until after 5, after 6. And again, it is about, once you get in, displaying the attitude to push forward, or for someone to recommend you to something else. But sometimes you have to make your own opportunity and you have to push to get that start. And that is it for me, unless there are any questions.
Okay, no more questions. I don't see any in the comment, but I would like to say thank you for being here. I've learned you brought two things that haven't been brought before: being proactive, finding a niche, finding something that you can be helpful in, and try to do your best at that. And I love that idea of, and the plans. I also have my list, my A's and B's and what I should do at each age. So I totally understand that. Thank you
Yeah.
again for your time. Your words of wisdom. I was here just taking notes. Okay, I can do this at Heineken. I can do that at
Yeah.
Heineken.
Yeah, but just a quick one too, guys. Remember, you don't have to be the top of the class to actually be the most successful in the class.
Okay.
Trust me.
All right.
Attitude goes a very long way.
All right.
All
Thank you
right.
so much again, Miss Grant.
Good, good.
Have yourself a wonderful rest of the day.
Mhm.
Okay, wow. The time is winding down and up and down and up and down. All right. So, another special guest we have in store is Miss Stacey-Ann Thelwell. She's the manager of the microbiology branch of the Bureau of Standards. And without further ado, Miss Stacey-Ann Thelwell, I bring you onto the stage.
Good day, everyone. Thanks for having me and thanks for joining. Thanks for sticking around. I'd like to commend the Biochemistry Society for this initiative. It is very commendable that you have a program like this for your final year students. It's something that I wish that I had while I was at UE, because there are a lot of things that you don't learn about the working world when you're in school. And a lot of them I had to learn them the hard way. So I'm happy that you have this opportunity to at least get a glimpse into what to expect when you actually go out. I would like to echo the sentiments of the prior presenters. I totally agree with everything that they said. So I won't go over those. But let me introduce myself. My name is Stacey-Ann Thelwell. I am the manager of the microbiology branch at the Bureau of Standards. I graduated from UE in 2006. Yeah, that was a long time ago. My first degree was in chemistry and biotechnology. I saw someone pose a question earlier regarding whether you can do microbiology with a biotech degree. Yes, you can. At least during my time, the biotechnology degree, it involved a very wide range of microbiology courses. As a matter of fact, I could have declared a minor in microbiology. However, I wasn't able to declare two majors and a minor, so I declared a double major. So yes, you can branch off into microbiology with a biotech degree. A lot of the principles are the same. A lot of the foundation courses are the same. So yes, you can. You can also have a degree in molecular biology. Medical technology is also considered. So it doesn't have to be a straight micro B degree that you have to be able to come into the microbiology field. I also have a second degree, which is not in microbiology. I did an MSc in occupational and environmental health and safety, and I've completed that in 2013. You will realize I still work in the field of my first degree. I started out after graduating. Well, actually, I started working before I graduated. So the job hunt for me was not difficult. It wasn't a challenge. I believe at that time there were a lot more job openings, there were more opportunities. So it wasn't so hard to get into a job as it is now. Right now, I see it's a lot more competitive. I started out in chemistry actually. So I worked at UE in the chemistry department as an analyst there. and I stayed there for a year. However, I wasn't very happy in that role. So I moved on to the classroom actually. So I was in the classroom for a short stint. It was an interesting experience. I taught the sciences at Jamaica College for a short while. It was overall a good experience there. There are one of the things I'll tell you is there's always a lesson in whatever experience it is that you have. And I can say that all the experiences that I've had so far have been helpful and they have been useful in moving forward. After leaving the classroom, I actually went back home because I'm from St. Anne. I went back home and I worked at was then called Walkers with Caribbean Foods. And it was it was good to see three of the presenters who are working there now. It's now called AML, Associated Manufacturers Limited. And it was very nostalgic to actually see the background when Miss Stewart was and her colleague was explaining what they do because that's where I used to work. That was my first microbiology role. And I learned a lot there because when I went there, the lab was closed and I had the task of reopening it. So it was a lot of research. It was a lot of, ordering media, talking to persons, trying to get things back up, know what you need to have in place, and actually starting testing again. So that was an excellent opportunity for me. It was a great stepping stone into where I am now because I stayed there for about a year. At the time, they were going through transition phase, which is why they are now AML. They were in the middle of that at the time. And I moved on. I was offered a role at the Bureau of Standards. How did I get this job? I saw it in the paper and I applied. That was it. One of the things I would give as advice is do not underestimate yourself. When I saw that job ad for the Bureau of Standards, they were asking for some very specific skills, many of which I did not have. However, I applied, I did some research, I did a lot of reading, and I decided that if they ask me about this in this interview, I'm going to explain to them, all right, I don't have practical experience in it. However, this is what I know. And that's what I did. Well, luckily, they didn't ask me about that in particular, but they did ask a lot of technical questions that I was easily able to answer because of my experience at Walkerswood at the time. Why did I decide to do microbiology? Because it's fun. It's very interesting just to learn about these microorganisms. You can't see them, but they have personalities. They're all very different. Yes, I know I sound like a nerd, but it's very interesting to see what they do and what they don't do. And a colleague of mine always says, bacteria don't read textbook. So one of the things that you're going to have to learn and get accustomed to is to relearn a lot of things that you might have learned at UWI. So for years, we learned that, for example, Listeria is a gram-positive bacilli. It's motile. It does tumbling and rotating motility. But guess what? There's now a new species just discovered last year that is non-motile. So all these years we're looking for Listeria as some organism that's motile, and if it's not motile, you rule it out. So no, it's very dynamic, and that's one of the things I like about it because I get bored pretty easily. So I I like to be learning new things. I like to be doing new things. I like the fast-paced life. So yes, this is why I chose this job. I've been here now for almost 13 years. I came here in 2008 as an analyst. And what we do here is, if you're familiar with the Bureau of Standards, we're like the FDA of Jamaica, where we test a wide range of products for bacteria, and that's just for microbe, because we do have a lot of labs here that we do a very wide scope of things. But I'm just going to be talking to you on my area of microbiology today. And we test food. So almost any type of food you can think of, we test it. So bag juice, Kisco, bread, buns, cakes, rice, everything, anything that you can think of, we test it. We also do some non-food products such as cosmetics, pharmaceuticals. We do disinfectants with COVID, we do sanitizers. We do environmental samples. So sometimes we have to go out to people's houses because they think they're having a problem with mold, and we go and we do samples. We'll go into industry. So from time to time, different factories might call on us to come in and do sampling for them of their environment. We had a situation before where we've had to go to a car mart because they thought that something was happening with the cars, something microbiological might be happening with the cars. So we went in to investigate. So it's pretty exciting. It's a pretty exciting role. So I started in 2008 as an analyst, and like Ms. Grant just said, when I just came in, I was given the role to label files. Yeah, and I really was reevaluating my decision to come here. I was labeling files, I was doing things that were not related to the sciences, not related to microbiology at all. But sometimes you're just being tested. And I took it and I did my labeling and I did what I needed to do. And some persons were like, Stacey, why are you still doing this? Why are you still doing that? I'm like, well, just do it. I mean, it's not a big deal. And then I started out in like a support role. Even though I was an analyst, I started out in a support role for the analysts, where I'd be making the culture media. I'd just I'd go around and check on their schedules and say, okay, what do you need? And I just plan a day and I sort it out. Then I eventually went into full-time testing. And later on, I was doing that for a couple of years. And in 2017, I was promoted to senior analyst. And this role, it still involved some amount of testing, but it was a little bit more administrative, where you'd get to review the work of the analyst, you supervise the work, that kind of a thing. And I did that for about a year. And then I was later appointed to act as the head of the lab. And what should have been a 1-year stint has turned out to be more permanent. So I have been the head of the lab since 2018. It's what's my day-to-day life like? It's crazy. The phones are always ringing. We provide a lot of technical support to our clients. There are a lot of meetings. There are a lot of committees that I sit on or might need to offer technical advice to. I am on the procurement committee. I'm on standards committees where we write standards, review standards. I'm actually currently on an ISO committee. I'm the Jamaican representative for the review of one of the ISO standards. So it's a lot of work. And in addition to that, you're managing a team. I currently manage a team of 15 very bright minds. I have an amazing team. It's not always peaches and cream, but it's great. And it's been good. It's been good so far. Any practical tips that I might have? A lot has been said before with the previous presenters, but one of the main things I'd say, pay attention in your class. When they're teaching you about dilutions and they're teaching you about pipetting and the different organisms and what they do and what they don't do, pay attention. sometimes you learn things in school and it's not relevant to the working world, but I will say what you learn in microbiology, you will need it on the job. And these are some of the things that we assume that you know when you come in. So I routinely in my interviews, I will ask a lot of technical questions because I notice that we can no longer assume that this is common knowledge, but it's something that you need to know. So if you don't remember, go back and read it. There is a lot of on-the-job training that is provided, so you don't need to know everything. You will never know everything. And as Ms. Grant said, continuous improvement. Just always aim to learn more, do more. You know, while you're here or on any job, just try and learn as much as you can learn. Try and always better yourself. Give 110%. Don't do what is just required, because that's not gonna get you anywhere. Yeah, attitude is very important. And it's interesting that Miss Grant had mentioned about the grades. The grades are important, but your attitude is more important. And just as she said, you will find persons coming in with the best grades, but they're not necessarily the best candidates. They're not necessarily the best fit for the job. So that's another thing. So sometimes when you go into an interview and you might not get the job, it's not necessarily that you didn't answer the questions right. Every workplace has a culture, and you might not necessarily fit into that culture. So I've had cases where I've interviewed and the person who interviewed the best is not selected. Why? They would not fit in with my team. So sometimes it might not be the right place for you. And as a job seeker, try and assess the culture of the organization that you're going into. Does this fit my values? Is this where I want to be? Is this something that I see myself doing for a while? Will this compromise my integrity? You know, there's some, and anything can happen. So it's something that you need to look at. Be passionate about what you're doing. The world of work, they don't tell you it's not easy. It's stressful. There are good days, but there are bad days. And if you're passionate about what you're doing, it makes the bad days a lot easier. It's a lot easier to get through it. Be on time. Punctuality, that is important. It sends a very good message to your seniors. It is especially important for us to be on time with our testing for our clients, because for us, our clients are depending on us to export. You have millions of dollars of product waiting on the wharf, and because I decide that I can't bother to do this today, the ship doesn't sail and they're losing millions of dollars and people are losing their jobs. No, it's important. So you have to think about what is happening on the other side. And while I'm on that point, always help others. Not because you're doing your work and you're done and you finish you tick off all the things and you check mark, you're gonna sit and fold your arms. No. There might be somebody else there who is struggling. Go and help them. We're all on the same team. We're all working towards the same goal. If you sit and allow another team member to struggle, the team is as strong as their weakest link. We're all going to be working together. We're working towards the same goal, and we're trying to achieve the same things. Your work ethic, that is very important when you go into the working world. Don't go to work and then the first thing you do is sit down and eat your breakfast. You're supposed to be at work. Your work hours start at 8:30. You come at 8:30 and then you sit and have breakfast until 9 o'clock. Nope, it doesn't work. If that's what you need to do, you're going to be coming in earlier and then you're going to be starting out at 8:30, starting your job at 8:30. Always try to learn something new. Not everything will not be taught to you formally. There are things that you're going to have to learn on your own. There are things that you're going to have to be proactive about to just know how everything works and try and widen your horizons. Even though you're in microbiology, learn about what happens in other areas. I think the Bureau of Standards has the advantage of having a wide variety of labs. We have engineering labs, chemistry labs are here. There are a lot of other standards division. There are lots of different areas that you can learn. So the organization that you might be going into could be similar. And it's don't just try and know only what you're supposed to know. It's good to widen your horizons and get to know other things. Be respectful to everyone. It doesn't matter who it is or if you think the person is in a low level job or what. Show respect. You never know who is watching. You never know. I currently have someone on my team who I went to a stationery store one day and I needed a pen and I couldn't find the pen that I wanted. And I saw him and he assisted me in finding the pen because he was working on the floor. And then I noticed that he just seamlessly transitioned to take over the cashier station because the cashier stepped away. And he was very pleasant and he was very helpful. And we had an opening for our job and who walked in? He walked in. I didn't know his name, but I remembered his face because he stood out to me. And when we were finished interviewing, it was a very tight decision between him and another one. And I said to the panel, this is who I want. I've seen him work. I know what he can do. This is who I want. He's been on my team and he has not disappointed. So you never know who is watching. So always give your best. Always give your best. If I'm not sure if you're all final year, but I would say doing the research project is a good idea. I know that if you're in the final year, it might be a little late to do it now, but it's a good thing to do because as a student at UWI, the demonstrators prepare everything for you. You don't know how to make the culture media. You don't know a lot of things that goes on behind the scenes. So it's a good idea to do that research project. It helps a lot because a lot of what the demonstrators do in the background is what you're expected to do when you come here. So it does give you that advantage. Other advice I'd give?
Excuse me, 1 minute. About the research project. Well, I'm just adding in because of COVID, they kind of put that on pause. Hopefully, the second years will have a chance, but as a third year student, it wasn't up for grabs, unfortunately.
Okay.
So we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of ground to cover, and a lot of us are between. Just explaining, between our first year and third year, we just had a little bit at first year, and in the last semester of third year, we're getting a little more lab experience. So I guess you're going to have to be a little bit more gracious with this set of people coming out because we're truly feeling the brunt of COVID.
No problem. And that's understandable. I mean, these things happen and these are the things that we have to navigate on a day-to-day basis. So as a lot of the earlier presenters said, volunteering, that's a good option. I know that it's not a feasible option for everyone because things are expensive now. However, at the Bureau of Standards, we do, even though you're quote unquote volunteering, we do provide a stipend because we do understand that you can't come to work and survive on air. I mean, how do you get here? How do you eat? So we do provide a stipend. And if you're wondering, we will be hiring soon. So you can send in your resumes. I'm looking to have someone in for me. So if you're interested, you can send your resumes to hrmd@bsj.org.gm. That's hrmd@bsj.org.gm. So thanks for that input, Tracy. COVID has really changed a lot of things. We have suffered under it. We have had to pivot a lot here as well. We've had to change a lot of things of how we do things. So we do understand the constraints. But if you can, in any way, get some practice on the bench. I mean, you don't need working experience in the industry to be considered for a job here, but however, it is an asset. So that's something to think about. The other 2 points I'll quickly say is not necessarily about the academics or the working world, but it's just general life advice. Be financially savvy when you come out. Look into buying stocks, investing, microbiology. The science is not a field that pays a whole lot, so you're not going to be rich when you come out. I remember, and as I said, I learned a lot of these things the hard way. I remember when I was at U, there was a store in Halfway Tree that I had gone into, and it was a very expensive store. And I said to myself, when I start working, this is where I'm going to shop. Needless to say, many years later it closed, and I was never able to shop in that store. So you're not going to be rich. You can make it. Have the right attitude, make the right decisions. Your work ethic is important. Don't think about investment options. Think about options to generate income otherwise, because if you rely just on your 9 to 5, and I'm not just talking about microbees in general, it might not be what you expect. And as Ms. Grant said, in the beginning, you're going to be giving a lot more than you're going to get. So something to think about, but it will pay off. It will pay off in the end. I'm seeing in the chat to verify the email. Yes, that is correct. hrmd@bsj.org.gm. So that's my presentation in a nutshell. Are there any questions?
I haven't seen any in the chat, in the YouTube comments, but I would like to say thank you for your presentation. It was truly enlightening. I got a little hope. I was a little bit doubtful with the whole gap between us not having a lot of lab experience, but now I'm realizing that it's more of a overall perspective of your passion, your work ethic, and your ability to go above and beyond to give your 110%.
Right, and as long as you can demonstrate that you're trainable, and I mean you have a degree, so you're trainable. So that's important. You need to be flexible as well.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, Mrs. Stelwell.
Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure, indeed a pleasure. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
On the other side. Okay, all right, we're winding down. Unfortunately, I'm so sorry about this long time that we're staying here, but I wanted everybody to have a chance to say what they needed to say or not final. Our next presenter is Miss Nora Pellington. Mr. Nora Pellington, she's a quality control technician for Tradewinds Citrus. So I call on to the virtual stage, Miss Danora Pellington. Hello? Not seeing or hearing you, ma'am.
Hello, you hearing me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you now.
Okay. I welcome the opportunity to be on this forum today, even though I feel like such an oddball. And the thing about is that the internet literally, when the station came on, the internet started to give problems. So I had to switch to my phone and stepped outside to pick up signal because inside the factory is kind of a dead zone. So I'm talking to you guys right now from outside Trudeau's parking lot.
That is
Okay, so I
okay.
hope you can hear me
We
well.
love
So,
perseverance. We love perseverance. Thank you so very much. The stage is now yours.
okay. So, I have to comment on seeing all the female presenters today, and I love and support every single thing that they just said a while ago. I didn't went to UE myself. I went to CASE, so I did a bachelor's degree in agriculture production and food systems management at CASE in Portland. So I graduated I left in 2016, but I officially graduated in 2017. And from there, um, I did not start it out with my first job relating to that of my degree. I actually started out at a printery. So there at the printery, I was working and I did a banner for a food processing company. And then I applied there and they hired me. And that was my stepping stone from there. So, because I did internship at Dear Board with the ministry, where I spent 2 summers there. So, guys, even though your internship is literally the starting point of you into building your career, so choose a good place to do your internship. Research a place that you want to do. Make sure it's something that you'd love and start from there. And if it doesn't go your way, then that's fine as well. There's always other opportunities out there because I thought that I would have been there, but other opportunities came out there for me, and now I'm here at True Juice. So, you still hearing me? So my current position is that I'm a quality control technician. I'm at the filling room. So there are 4 different departments in quality control. We have the pure plants, we have blending room, we have filling, and we have Tetra Pak. So the one of the speakers before, she was saying that how group projects were not her big thing, but when you come into the industry, it's mostly group projects that you're doing, and all the groups combined, it's a complete process. It's used to make one. So without the puree, we can't get the raw material, and then without blending, we can't have the raw material being processed into making the juices, and then we need filling, and also we fill at Tetra Pak. So Tetra Pak is the shelf, products on the shelf. I actually had samples to show you guys. They are on the inside, unfortunately. And chilled production is what you see into the fridge. So before we start up production each day, we have to make sure that all our equipment is clean. We have to make sure that the machinery is clean, and we have to make sure that all the bottles that is going to be filled into clean. The water that is being supplied or to blend with our products is cleaned as well, and they are brought for testing to our microbiologists. So we have a microbiology team on staff that helps to make sure all that is possible and up to standards. So life after obtaining my degree. So I was home for a couple months. While home and sending out resume and feeling like I literally was home and I was feeling like an educated prof, really, because I'm wondering, I need to start working. I have this paper. I need to utilize it. What am I going to do? So you have to make sure that your resume is done right. Make somebody proofread the resume for you. Make sure that it's accurate. List all the things. Make sure you have not only that you've had what you've studied in school, but make sure that you venture out into other aspects that's going to differentiate you from the rest. Because it's one big class. You're in a class of like 50 up to 100, maybe even more persons, and all of you guys have the same degree. Yes, some may have honors and some may not, but it's the same degree, and that's the same degree that's on every single resume that is being sent out to that one company. So a volunteer service really helps. Pick the organization that you wish to start with, or you wish to get your foot in, because you really need a foot into the door. So volunteer service really helps. I volunteered at several places before I actually got a job. So volunteer service really helps. It puts you a little step forward. It gives you the experience that these organizations are asking for, because they always say that, oh, yes, we want the degree, but we want this amount of experience, and we just leaving school are saying, how am I supposed to get experience if you don't hire me, right? So voluntary service really provides that part. One of the things that you also need to do is to be vigilant, be proactive. Yes, you have technology and social media out there and all of these digital aspects, but sometimes you literally need to print your resume out on a piece of paper, put it into an envelope, and drop it off at the organization. You know, make sure you put it into something that as they see it, they want to read it. I actually did a physical copy of my resume here at Shoodos. It was a very pretty envelope I submitted, and I guess it caught their attention. So when you're job hunting, the Gleaner, and I'm not talking the Gleaner online, I'm talking actually buying the Sunday Gleaner paper that the guy on the bicycle normally is riding up and down and selling to look for jobs. Those are where some of the best jobs are going to be. So the Gleaner, Caribbean Jobs, and persons have said LinkedIn, and those works as well. So you need to buy a paper every Sunday, look out, apply, 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 apply. No matter how much you apply, you can never apply enough. Because sometimes you apply and jobs don't even call you until months after. So apply. And don't be afraid to walk up to somebody and say, hey, I'm General Pelton, I did this, and I think that I can contribute to your institution in such a way. I'm looking for a position in whatever. Don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to message somebody that you say, oh, probably I can get a link here or there. You have to be proactive into everything that you do. One of the things Case taught me is adaptability.
Hello? I think something is wrong with her video. I'm not hearing her anymore. Yes, she has dropped offline. We had two speakers left. But I think one is gone. Unfortunately, they stayed as long as they could, even after work. So I would like to thank Max Pharmaceuticals and Cosmetic for deeming me fit to be here, but they had to go. So we have one more person, a very important person. To I will definitely message and relay it to you all. I'll definitely message and relay it to you all. So I'm not seeing her coming back. So I'm going to show the video for the person who submitted. Alrighty. Her name is Shiska Higgins, and she's a molecular biologist, a research scientist, and acting team leader for the biotechnology department of SRC. Okay, Miss Deb Dan, she's here. Miss Pennington is here. Okay, 1 minute. You're back?
I'm back.
Okay. All right. So, somebody, while you're here and I'm talking, somebody asks if there's summer internship at Tradewinds Citrus.
We do take interns. We just had a last batch of interns that left us, so you can apply to the HR department for an internship.
Okay. Alrighty. Thank you so very much for that. All right, you can continue. You may proceed.
Okay. So, as I was saying, networking is important, and one of the skills that you guys already have because you're into the technological age is networking. Social media. I'm sure you're all on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and well Meta now and all those forums that you have persons that you can interact with, and also it can be a bad thing because now employers are looking at your social media pages. They're asking for your LinkedIn links. They want to see what do you do out there that nobody else is doing, or what makes you interesting. Are you a good part? Would you be a good fit for the team? Would you gel with the other team members? So you need to make sure your social media pages are appropriate, guys. Make sure you're not sexy boo boo kitty on the internet or anything like that. So it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. Also, develop habits that functions well to you. So habits and hobbies as well, because as I was saying first, that you all have the same degrees and you're all applying for the same job. So what do you do? What's different about you? When you go to the interview, I don't want to see a robot presenting me, okay, I can calculate this, I can analyze and stuff. But all your other classmates can calculate and analyze as well. Yes, I did titration and
She tried to persevere, but I guess the internet again cannot be disputed. Um, so as I said, I'm going to show my final speaker, it looks like, and hope you, and that is Miss Shiska Higgins.
Hi, I'm Shishka Higgins, and I'm here to share my story with you. And I hope at the end of this session, it will inspire at least one student here. And I would like to thank the organizing committee for inviting me to present on this platform. Now, I would like to start my story from the year 2011 when I graduated from the University of the West Indies, Mona, with a first degree in botany and zoology. Now, if I should be fair and honest, I really did not know what I wanted to do. What I knew for sure is that I loved science. Science was at the heart of everything that I did. It was what I knew, it was what I studied for years. Now, having graduated and having to move back home, and home for me is Montego Bay, I was unemployed for a year, and I took the time to assess myself and just slow down and try to figure out what exactly I wanted to do. I graduated at the age of 21. Some of my colleagues had it all figured out. They wanted to be lawyers, doctors. For me, I knew I loved science, but what exactly in science did I want to do? I took the year and I scoured the internet and I went through the directory at home and I stumbled upon the Scientific Research Council. At the time, completing an internship program was not a prerequisite for graduating, so I had no experience. I decided that I wanted to identify an organization of interest to me that was impactful in the research sphere, and I would have volunteered in that institution. Now, I got the opportunity, thankfully, to volunteer for all of 3 months, unpaid volunteer, and it was at that time my love for plants really ignited. At the time, there was a research project that was aimed at identifying a resistant and or tolerant sweetened variety for the anthracnose disease. Now, my role was to harden off these tissue culture plantlets to make them available for the scientists to screen. By doing that simple task, I was able to gain experience in so many different areas. I got experience in plant tissue culture. I got experience in designing experimental plans. I developed interpersonal skills because I had to work on a team, etc. After completing the 3 months, there was a post that was available in the same department, and that was of research officer. I applied and I was appointed research officer for the biotech department in 2013, 3 months after starting as a volunteer. Now, my life changed significantly because I was now more confident. I knew what I wanted to do and I was loving what I was doing. As research officer, I was responsible to maintain our in vitro germplasm for Jamaica. I was responsible for maintaining the ex vitro gene bank. I was responsible to set up experimental plans, execute field trials, and these field trials were designed to collect data about our tissue cultured plants in terms of the yield, the nutrient profile, etc. And this was of importance to local farmers who were not so familiar with this type of plant, these types of plants. Now, after working in that capacity for 6 years, I realized that there was more I could do. I was now interested in the business aspect of things. I realized that in my department, one of our income generators was to get contracts to sell a lot of our important tissue culture plants. For example, there was a project where we had to produce up to tens of thousands of ginger plantlets to the Ministry of Agriculture for export. So I understand that there was a business side of things that I knew nothing about. So in 2017, I decided to enroll in a biotechnology and business management program at the University of Warwick in England. So I studied in England for a year, and upon my return, I was promoted to research scientist for the department. And at that time, I was assigned to the molecular biology unit. And the main objective of that department was to use, of that unit or lab, was to use RT-PCR to screen pathogens of economic importance. So now I had my experience in business, plant pisciculture, and molecular diagnostics. And in the year 2021, I believe, I was promoted to acting team leader for the same department that I started off as volunteer 10 years ago. Now, at this time, I'm doing what I love. I know there's a lot more to do. I'm sharing all of this with you for you to understand that we will not have it all figured out. You will not have it all figured out before graduating, and you will not have it all figured out after graduating. But one thing is for sure, stay true to what you believe and what you love, and once you're prepared, it will all fall into place. Now, I must say one of my regrets at UWI was not doing any form of biochemistry. I've realized that biochem is at the core of everything I do, even to this day, once it's related to science. So for kudos to all you who selected biochemistry, knowing that your future lies in research and technology, it is a great decision. Our executive director at the moment, she has her first degree and I think her PhD in biochemistry. My divisional manager also has his PhD and starting from first degree in biochemistry. While I was at the University of Warwick, I realized the importance of biochem in drug development in the pharmaceutical industry, which is big money business. It's big business. It's helping to develop countries, to grow countries, and to improve the quality of life of people, and that is my passion. Now, saying all of that to say, keep focused, stay studying, and it will all work out. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so that was Miss Siska Higgins. Mr. Bora Pellington is back. Hopefully, all is well. I will try to add her to the stream. Hello? Okay,
Hello.
right. Okay, so you were finishing up.
Yes, I was. So I was just at my ending remarks and saying ending remarks to all the students out there that are graduating currently. Tell them that remember all the faces that you see on that panel with you on graduation day, because you will see them again into whichever industry you choose. So socialize, don't make enemies with your classmates, and continue for striving for excellence all the time. Put your best foot forward, guys. The decisions that you make today literally are your outcomes 5 years time. So whatever you do today is not going to show up tomorrow. It's going to show up in 5 years time. Thank you.
Say right there, thank you so much for persevering. I know you had a lot of technical difficulties, but you saw it fit to contribute to our day. It was truly remarkable. Thank you for your time. Thank you for just being with us today. We truly appreciate it. We're truly appreciative. Yes, thank you, Ms. Valentine. Have a wonderful rest of the day now.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Bye. Okay. Alrighty. We have had quite a bit of lineup, guys. Quite a bit. I am so sorry that you are unable to hear Mr. Stevenson carry dice. He studied applied chemistry and food processing, and he works at Max Pharmaceutical and Cosmetics. Due to the length of today's program. He really tried, but he was unable to stay with us to the end. To do the vote of thanks, to do the closing, I'll bring my second VP, Jordan Amrit, to the screen.
All right, guys, good afternoon. So at this time, as Tracy said, the president, I'll do the vote of thanks. Good evening, esteemed presenters, fellow members of the Biochemistry Society, and my dear students. First and foremost, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge all the presenters for taking the time out of their busy schedule to attend our Careers Day, as well as those individuals who were not able to attend but still send in a video recording regardless. Indeed, the information shared today about the different kinds of work and the prerequisites necessary for entering such field is of great importance. We accept this information with the utmost gratitude, and as such will utilize this in the near future when deciding on what career path we wish to enroll into. Secondly, I would also like to thank the youth student cohort for attending this session, as they are the future and the ones that will benefit from the guidance which was provided today. Finally, I would also like to thank the members of the Biochemistry Society Committee who have been working tirelessly behind the scenes to make this event possible for the students. Thank you.
Okay, so that is it, guys. I hope that you all were encouraged, enlightened, motivated, and you can see that there is not just one element to getting your dream job. Sometimes you have to have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Sometimes it's not just your grades. Your grades bring you to the door, but it is your passion, your work ethics, and your attitude that let you enter through their gates. Sometimes you'll start out starting out doing a menial job, not something that you had signed up for, sometimes you're just pushing papers, and it all comes with time, patience, and trying to another thing was to have multiple streams of revenues in the forefront, be money wise, to be money smart. Those are important lessons that we all can carry out and bring forward. Our degree is very diverse. It's very marketable. It's almost in everything. every plant need a quality to be assessed. Everything that you make needs to be assessed. And you have research, you have laboratory testing for medical laboratory testing. The field is wide. The world is your oyster. You just need to know how to navigate it. And with that, I would like to also thank again our guests and the person who wasn't able to make it. They truly saw it fit to come and bring light to the darkness. And we are very appreciative of that. And with that, I wish you all well and a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you.